What's up, everyone? Sportsmafia back here today to talk about the biggest rivalries of every NBA decade. But before we get started, please click the icon in the bottom right corner of this video to subscribe to this channel so you never miss a single video. Once you've subscribed, please comment "I subscribed" and we promise we will personally reply to your comment. Thank you, and let's get started. First up is the pre-1970s, Russell vs. Chamberlain. The early heyday of the NBA saw Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell, two legendary titans of the league, go head-to-head throughout much of the 1960s. Chamberlain was the elite talent of the day with career-high averages of 50.4 points, 27.2 rebounds, and 48.5 minutes. Russell was a dominant rebounder, but his career-best 18.9 points per game seemed pedestrian when compared to Chamberlain's numbers. Despite the difference in scoring prowess, Russell's Celtics were the dominating team of that era, winning 11 titles over a 13-year span, often shutting out Chamberlain's Philadelphia/Golden State Warriors, Philadelphia 76ers, and Los Angeles Lakers in the process. Chamberlain and the 76ers did get the best of Russell and the Celtics in 1966-67 for his lone title during Russell's tenure. He would win his second title in 1971-72 with the Los Angeles Lakers after Russell had retired. Next up is the 1970s, Lakers vs. Knicks. The 1970s was the decade of parity. Without one true super team to headline the period, 8 different champions would be crowned, the most diverse group of winners in NBA history. However, the Los Angeles Lakers and New York Knicks might have been the closest things, battling for supremacy in 1970, 1972, and 1973, with the Knicks capturing 2 of 3 titles. The first championship run was led by Walt Frazier and Willis Reed and included the famous Game 7 that saw the latter enter from Madison Square Garden tunnel after suffering a torn thigh muscle earlier in the series. In 1972, the Lakers responded, led by Wilt Chamberlain, Gail Goodrich, and the logo himself, Jerry West. They were one of the league's most proficient offenses, and the Knicks were one of its best defenses. Los Angeles overwhelmed New York in 5 games. In 1973, the Knicks returned the favor in 5 games, led by Frazier, Dave DeBusschere, and Bill Bradley. The decisive Game 5 would be the final appearance of Chamberlain's career. Next up is the 1980s, Lakers vs. Celtics, Magic vs. Bird. The Los Angeles Lakers and Boston Celtics have one of the richest rivalries in the NBA, dating back to the 1960s with Jerry West and Bill Russell. That rivalry renewed in the 1980s with both teams dominating their respective conferences. The Lakers went to 8 NBA Finals, the Celtics went to 5. 3 were head-to-head clashes with the Celtics winning the first in 1984 and the Lakers earning the next 2 in 1985 and 1987. The heart of that rivalry dates back to the 1979 NCAA Finals that saw Michigan State's Earvin "Magic" Johnson defeat Indiana State's Larry Bird. Soon after, Magic vs. Bird helped make the NBA a national sensation. Johnson went on to be the heart of the Lakers' Showtime era of the 1980s, winning 5 NBA titles. Bird was one of the league's most lethal assassins, leading the Celtics to 3 titles. The stakes were raised in the 1984 Finals when Kevin McHale clotheslined Kurt Rambis en route to a championship in 7 games. Johnson and the Lakers would get revenge the next season. Next up is the 1990s, Knicks vs. Heat. The Knicks were the feistiest NBA team in the 1990s. Having faced the Chicago Bulls in 5 of 6 postseasons, they were finally on the cusp of becoming next, only to meet a new rival, the Miami Heat. The Bulls and the Knicks were physical, no doubt, but the Knicks and the Heat embarked upon an all-out war. It started with head coach Pat Riley. After leaving the Knicks following their finals dismissal in 1994 and Eastern Conference semifinals loss to the Indiana Pacers in 1995, Riley defected to Miami. With him in town, the two would meet in 4 consecutive postseasons, partially highlighted by a massive brawl in 1997 that resulted in multiple suspensions. In 1999, the Knicks were a lowly 8 seed before upsetting the top-seeded Miami Heat on an Allen Houston buzzer beater that would begin their run to the finals. But the most memorable matchup may have come in 1998 when bitter rivals Larry Johnson and Alonzo Mourning got physical, which led to shoving, punches being thrown, and the infamous visual of Jeff Van Gundy helplessly clinging to Mourning's legs. Next up is the 2000s, Los Angeles Lakers vs. San Antonio Spurs. Between them, the Lakers and Spurs won 7 of the 10 NBA titles in the 2000s, 4 by the Lakers and 3 by the Spurs. Each featured one of the 2 defining non-LeBron James players of the decade, Kobe Bryant and Tim Duncan. For most of the decade, they each had one of the handful of greatest coaches in the history of basketball, the Lakers' Phil Jackson and the Spurs' Greg Popovich. Classic battles? They faced each other 5 times in the playoffs over those 10 years, twice in the Western Conference Finals and 3 times in the second round. Iconic moments? Derek Fisher's buzzer beater with less than half a second remaining came in Game 5 of the 2004 semifinals. The Lakers prevailed that year before losing to Detroit in the finals. The year before, it was the Spurs who beat the Lakers in the second round on the way to the first of their 3 2000s titles. You can't tell the story of the NBA in the 2000s without the majority of the attention spent on the two teams that dominated it. There were plenty of all-time great players between the two clubs, along with a clash of styles and clear mutual respect between the two sides. It's everything you could want in a rivalry. Last up is the 2010s, Golden State Warriors vs. Cleveland Cavaliers. No two teams in any major American professional sport had ever met in the finals 4 consecutive times before the Cavs and Warriors did so from 2015 to 2018. Each meeting represented a very different chapter. Golden State took the first meeting in 6 games over a Cleveland team missing injured stars Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love. The Cavs came back from a 3-1 deficit to beat the 73-win Warriors in 2016, and Kevin Durant helped lead Golden State to convincing victories in 2017 and 2018. Now in 2020, with James gone from the Cavs, Durant leaving the Warriors, and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson missing nearly the entire year with injuries, Cleveland and Golden State are once again first and second, in a battle for the number 1 pick. That's it for today's Sports Mafia video. Thank you for watching. If you like this video and want to see more Sports Mafia content, click the circle subscribe button so you never miss a single video. Hope you enjoyed.